Yeah.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And we are live. What's going on? YouTube and Facebook Live. I don't know why we always come in this thing laughing, but my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Every single time, Taralyn, every time I try
Come
to be
together.
serious, here
No.
you come.
Okay, here, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and
No,
launch us off.
but the last time that was you. Last time that was you. You was the one. Whatever.
Yes, but now this time it's you, so it ain't my turn next time.
Okay. Okay. At least we'll stick to that. Hey y'all.
Hello.
How you doing?
Oh, good Lord.
It's Tuesday. It's only Tuesday.
Yes. Well,
Ugh.
welcome, welcome. I like to welcome everyone to Taralyn, Michelle, and Billy Wroe Live. This is our weekly live show that we jump on air, and as both coaches and writers and lovers of deep conversation and growth, we come and we get on and we just have a topic that we like to talk about and kind of open up and air out and give our listeners who are watching live the opportunity to jump in. I guess I can put that up now. I keep forgetting to put the live link up, but we'd like to give our listeners an opportunity to jump in live and join us, or they can join us live in the chat. With that being said, I am Billy Wroe, author of Fire Your Job, Hire Your Passion, coach, inspirational speaker, and lover of many things. Also, the founder of First Row, and this is my cohort, Taralyn Michelle. Go ahead and
I
introduce
am
yourself.
Carolyn Michelle, everybody. I am author of The Ultimate Release. I am CEO of Divine Design Media, LLC, which is all about programming and content aimed at uplifting, inspiring, and connecting you to your divine design, which is your purpose. In divine timing for a divine alignment. I am also a professional ghostwriter and just a lover of everything. Like Billy said, growth, 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 growth. And man, me and Billy, we have just been chopping it up for over a decade now. It's been going
Yes.
on for a long time. We've grown so much together and whew, fire your job, hire your passion. First of all, I just before we even jump into stuff today, for those that do not know, Billy was on my podcast, The Grind to Find,
Yes, I
right
was.
before his book was coming out. And I was like, yo, bro, this gonna be a national bestseller. I'm gonna go ahead and congratulate you now. And within a matter of weeks, I think it was, there it is. Boom, there. So first book out the gate, national bestseller. The the content is fire. And y'all, he has a journal. Not listen. I know me and my crew, we're all about some good, substantial reading, but there is nothing like it. This is not like a run of the mill, just kind of like a journal, this afterthought. Y'all, the journal is just as meaty as the book. And it
That's
doesn't,
crazy, but that's true.
but it is. And you know what? It doesn't feel like work. It really doesn't. You don't want to feel like you in grad school again and you going through all of that. You don't want to feel like that. But I'm just so proud of you, brother. And I just had to shout that out because the book is out there. People are gobbling it up. I already knew what it was going to be because I got the privilege of reading the manuscript as he was writing it. So I already knew it was going. I'm all in airports and running into people and stuff. Move out of the way. It was really fun.
Well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that love and affection. Um, yeah, the book has done quite a bit in the past month and a half now. I have to look at the date, the past month and a half, but it has been both overwhelming, surreal, and edifying all at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the journey just continues to gain traction. And as people are actually now kind of concluding reading the book,
Hmm.
I'm actually starting to get feedback. I think one of the biggest things I got was feedback from my director that I report to.
Hmm.
Um, he was able to give me some feedback on the book, how he felt about it, some of the things he wants to apply from the book. It's really good to be in a position where um, this is probably not the proper term, but to lead up instead of just being somebody who's a follower, but to really give
Correct.
something of substance to those who are above you or ahead of you and leading from the top. You're leading from the bottom, and so it really has been a great journey, and I appreciate all the love and support you have given me in getting to this point, because
Oh yeah.
I might have said, "Nah, never mind." Might have
That
said,
wasn't an
"Never mind."
option. You didn't know it, but it wasn't an option. No, I listen. It wasn't happening. No was not an answer that I was accepting. But I have to say too that um, the great thing about this project is being able to see other people, being able to see a different facet of you. We have the habit of knowing somebody within one context and then put them in that box as though that's all they are. So if someone only knows you in the context of at work, then that's like
Right.
all you are. Or if they only know you, maybe you're an associate of somebody, and you know what I'm saying. We put people in boxes, and so that's one of the things that I love about being an author and even just a writer in general. And supporting other people as a ghostwriter with their projects is it allows them to show people a different facet of who they are and the depth that you can go to when you're writing a book, those different
Right.
layers. So I'm happy that you're having that experience. Ain't like I'm surprised, but you know.
Okay. It gives you. You're right though. As an author, it does give you time to unpack
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot, and I think that's honestly a perfect segue into what tonight's topic is that the representative man. Ooh, we've had many conversations about this person. From your perspective, from my perspective,
Yeah.
from other people's perspectives, the representative. I'm actually going to lead off with what this topic means to me when I think
Please
about
do.
the representative. I think about the person that we want people to believe who we are, but I also think on a deeper level of because we think that's who they want us to be when I think of that representative. So if I think about the aspect of like somebody that is out in the dating world trying to entice a partner to do whatever, be married, sleep with each other, whatever their thing may be. They send, their best representative of who they think they should be or want to be, or maybe just want to be for that moment to attract the partner. They send that representative out. And normally that is not a person that they can maintain being. They might be able to be that person for a month, for a week, hell, even for a year.
Yeah.
But at some point, that representative burns out, that contract expires, and then all of a sudden, that representative goes away and the real person shows up. Kind of like that makeup we were talking about previously, but we ain't
Yeah.
gonna bring that into the next conversation.
You know, I like that. I like that. I would add to that. There's who someone would want somebody to think they are, or somebody that you try on until you figure out who you are. You know what I'm saying? Because there is that element of, okay, this is what I'd like somebody to think I am. But then there are people who are still seeking. They're trying
Right.
to find out who they are. And so a lot of the times when you're trying to find out who you are, then that means that you're going to be in different circles. You're going to start to go toward what looks good, go toward what makes you feel good. You're looking at someone else from the outside and you're saying, I think that could be me. I think I could like that. So then there's the throwing something at the wall to see what sticks, trying to find where you fit, who you are, what really is at the core of you. And instead of going inside with that first, because that's really internal work, that's that introspective thing that a lot of people are not comfortable with. Instead of going inside with that, then some people do what feels like is natural and quick, and that is connecting to what someone else is doing because they feel like if they're able to do that like that, it might be a good fit for them, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
I also think about our conversation we were having earlier today about the change up or the change in investment once marriage takes place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was thinking about that after the conversation, and I was like, man, this person brings out this representative that the other person is willing to marry, wants to marry, desires to marry, falls in love with. And then they get married and the real person shows up. And there's almost like this disconnect for the things that the person was doing as the representative to
Mhm.
who they should be appreciated as of now. Because, like, I'll use in my case, not that this is who I am, but
Mhm.
now as the husband, you should just appreciate me as the husband. Forget all that stuff I did to get here. And this is a conversation that my wife and we had numerous times throughout our dating was, hey, don't do anything that you're not going to do the upkeep for, that you're not going to keep up. Don't
Oh, yeah.
don't present in a way that you're not going to be later on. And one
Yep.
of the things that she struggled with in the beginning is that I opened the car door for the person. Oh, I open the car door for women, period. But
Mhm.
for the person that I'm with, I try to make that a very intentional act of, I'm securing you in the car. Now, if something goes down, you're safe in the car. I got some hands so I could throw a couple lefts and rights
If need
and
be.
protect us, but I'm not distracted by worrying about what's happening to you.
Right.
And so it's funny because when I first started doing it, it used to be like almost like this race to the car door, in which she'd be like, her hand on the door, open the door. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to open it. And I'd open the door for her, put her in. I was like, look, when we're in the car, if you want to get yourself out the car, I'm not coming around to open your door. It's not a oh, I got to do the man thing. It's just, hey, I'm getting you in the car safe. When
Right.
you want to get out of the car, you can get out the car whenever you feel like it.
Right.
But the thing to that is that because of the level of consistency at which I did it dating, it would feel very weird or strange to me now to be married and be like, okay, you are on, in my perspective of relationship, as from a girlfriend to a wife, you're at a higher level for me. And because you're at a higher level for me, why would I treat you less than the lower level for me? And so I just find it very interesting because I think in the beginning she thought, oh, maybe he's doing this to impress me. And I was like, no, this is who I am. So it's okay. This is the other thing about the representative. It's okay to let down the guard of that this is going to someday fail you and not be something that is done for you.
Yeah.
Because that's what uh, too many experiences with a representative, this representative, that representative, this representative, that representative, leads people to wait, that puts people in a state where they are waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay, yeah, this is nice right now. You're trying to sleep with me or you're trying to be with me or whatever it may be. But once you get what you want, the other shoe will drop. And then now all services that were rendered previously will no longer be rendered.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that dynamic, people expecting inconsistency, I'll say. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that dynamic comes from people shape shifting to who they think someone is expecting, instead of just being who you are and being okay with the fact if who you are exactly the way you are, it might not be a fit for this person. And that's okay. So many people think rejection is a bad thing when actually rejection can be the biggest gift someone can give you. You know, for
Right.
you to be at the beginning of a situation that's flourishing, that before there's any real connection emotionally, physically, there's nothing. There's just the superficial stuff like, hey, he looks nice, she looks nice. Okay, the conversation's decent. All right, let's go ahead and go out, and that's it. So at that point, neither person has anything to lose. There's no real investment that's been made. That's
Right.
the time for rejection to happen and you be like, yes, okay, so that wasn't a good fit. Let me keep it going. But I think that
Mm-hmm.
if you're not in a space where you're whole and there's no healing that needs to be done, some people will see people and for whatever reason, they decide that this person has to be the one. It's either they
Mm.
have to be the one, or if it happens that that person's not reciprocating what I'm putting out, then they'll make it personal. They'll make it where it's something wrong with me or it's something about me, not something just so basic as the energy is not connecting. Or
Right.
sometimes the chemistry is just not there. He could look great. You could look great. A lot of things superficially could have seemed good, but maybe it's just not a chemistry connection. It doesn't have to be personal, but I think that internalizing rejection is, that's a huge thing. A whole lot of people, like you shared a story with me off air when you talked about your marriage and you being, I don't know if you were necessarily a fuck boy or not. I don't know. I don't know that I would use that terminology, but that's I don't know. Were you a fuck boy? I don't know.
I probably had some tendencies. We'll
Okay,
call
so
it that.
you did fuck boy tendencies. Okay, so fuck boy ways, but but I don't know what it was. But anyway, that situation, she was like, okay, I'm tired of the fuck boy playbook. I'm out of here. And then you being like, well, no, it was more so about her being done and you not being comfortable with accepting that. So you just wanted to push forward and make it work instead of like now, that was like the best gift for you ever because you're married. She's fabulous. You guys are like click, click, click. It's just had that situation have kept going, would all of the things that are so amazing be what they are now? And I think your story is a great indication of how awesome rejection can be when something's not for you if you allow it and not take it personally. Just take it as, a learning experience and keep it moving. So,
Right. And it's funny because before we got on in the studio, there was a post up and it said, do people judge you for the type of car you drive? And I know the answer is yes.
yeah.
I know there's a group of people in the world that judge you for the type of car you drive. But instead of simply saying yes, my response is I hope so. I hope they do.
Exactly.
I genuinely hope that people judge people for the type of car they drive, because my car is not going to change until it forces me to change.
You hear me?
It's going to have to force me.
It's kind of like the people who you'll walk into a jewelry store and they'll decide based on what you're dressed like how much money you have.
Right.
And people who are very successful and doing very well don't tip. There are a lot of them. The wealthiest ones don't wear all of their wealth.
Right.
It's not things that you would see. Their mindset is completely and totally different. They're not validated by those things. And so people who I look the way I look when you said, do people judge you by the car that you drive? Well, really small minded people. Yeah, of course they do.
And that's not my circle.
Right. Exactly. So that's why I'm like, really? Wow. Because yeah. That's something.
Really quick, I'm sorry. I put a question in the chat for how far off is your representative from your real identity, and it looks like Soto Jose says extremely far. It's like two different people. What's interesting about that is that I feel like for a very long time in life that was who I was, and it's funny because the representative was really a negative rendition of who I thought I was supposed to be. And who I really was is closer to who I am today. A deep thinker, compassionate person, caring, want to help, have a desire to serve. That's who I am today. But I've always been that person. But I felt like, well, especially in the neighborhood I grew up in, I can't be like, hey, can I help you with your homework? No, I got to be like, I got to beat you up if you try to fight me or you try to punk me or you try to bully me. That's who I had to be. Yeah. Now it's funny because your representative always has moments where they slip and spill your true identity, because even in the sense of being this compassionate, caring person, but not wanting to be that as my representative, there will be times, even in elementary school, this as far back as elementary school, where I would see somebody, and they would be being bullied by somebody. And I would feel the need to intervene and be like, hey, come over here and bully me. And it was to kind of let my representative say like, hey, look, I'm tough. But on the other side, it's like, you're bullying somebody who doesn't have the spine to stand up to you. And I don't like the way that makes me feel. So I'm going to put myself in harm's way and rectify the situation if you come over here with the bully game. And so your representative will have these missteps on, oh man, that I didn't mean to let you guys know I care. Oh man, I didn't mean to let you know that I was a dog. I was trying to like keep it on the I'm super duper great. And it's the other thing that I've learned about the representative for myself and in interacting with other people has been that when people they'll assume your representative is who you are. what happens is they will attach certain attributes to you that
Oh yeah.
really don't show up in your character. They
Right.
they don't show up because they're not really there. The representative is a facade. Going back
Right.
to that mask, it's a mask. You take the mask off, yeah, that's not who I really am.
Yeah.
And so they'll assign these characteristics, and then they get confused when these characteristics don't show up to
Right.
the identity that you've shown them, or that you told them, not shown them, that you told them that you are.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I could that's yeah, I hadn't even thought about that layer, but that's a good one. That's a good one. I know for me, um, in that representative space, me, I was always really open and caring, and I loved the fact that I was smart. But because I wasn't confident in myself, I
Mhm,
allowed other people to make me feel shame of certain things that was natural for me. So I noticed that, especially in situations with men of course are attracted to the way you look first, you know.
mhm,
So then there's that part, but then if you're around a man where he's not that confident in himself and you start seeming too smart, then the first thing he wants to do is make your intelligence seem stupid to him.
mhm.
And I used to be in a situation where that would happen to me. You know, I would be like, wait a minute, am I tripping? Is it just me? But because I wasn't confident in myself and I'm vibing and I'm feeling him, I'm taking what he's, and I'm, you know, I was seeing everything great in him. You know, he
Mhm.
was super intelligent to me, super talented. He was all of these. All I saw was amazingness. I mean, just like doves flying everywhere, glitter, sunshine, candy, everything was perfect. You know, this is all I'm seeing in him, and I'm just appreciating who he is. But on the flip side, he's a little bit intimidated by me. And so when I'm saying, I'm just being me, I'm just being Taralyn. I don't know any other way to be. When I'm being me, he's casting doubt with the things that he would say and certain innuendos. And so I started to question different things about myself since I wasn't secure in myself. And I found myself pulling back from who I am naturally, shifting myself to be someone else that made him feel comfortable because I wasn't quite sure in myself. So that's another way of creating this representative for yourself, you know. And so
Absolutely.
I got caught into that, and that became like a habit. I immediately, that situation didn't work out long term, but I ended up going into other situations. It's funny because when you have that, when you're broken, you attract what you are. You know, so if you're broken, you attract
Right.
broken people. So then I'm going and I'm attracting people who are the same as that person, who have their insecurities and was more comfortable with me watering myself down. And because I wasn't secure in who I was, I did that. And that became a habit. And I did it for a long time until it just ate me up from the inside out. And I was like, you know what? F this. It's
Mhm.
time for me to just unapologetically be who I am, and if that's too much for you, then you're just not the person for me, period. But it took a while for me to be able to get to that space and to even put the idea of a representative in that space. People typically only look at that one way, and that is this is who you want somebody to think that you are. When yes, in all ways it's that way, but that starts in different ways for different people. Some people it's just intentional. I want you to think I'm living the Jay-Z life when I'm living in my grandma's house in her basement. It could be that.
Right. That's why I could afford all the clothes that makes it look like I'm in
It
Jersey
looks
life,
like
but I
I'm
cannot afford a residence. Right. Really quick, I want to bring some things from the live chat. Jessica, I wish you would have finished this statement. It says, "My representative push people away when." Man, you could fill in a lot of blanks with that. So I need you to come back with when what. um, Looks like Gina has, I think so. Oh, I think it also, oh, it's, maybe that will help if I can read. I think it's also what people are willing to see about the other person. People are so quick to judge that they, and you corrected this, I think you said, don't get the opportunity to know the true representative of oneself and portray you to be someone you're not because the chance was not given. Yeah, there's definitely times I think when the
yeah.
opportunity, I think there's a couple things here. Number one, I think that there was a word I learned when I was really young. It's called infatuation, and I was infatuated with the word because I was like, "Oh, I like the way that word sounds." So I like looked it up and was like, really, it was like being so enthralled or so
Mhm.
enamored with someone that you just don't see their flaws. You just puppy love. You just are love blind. And I think sometimes what happens is in in a hope or in a desire to find companionship or find someone who is not going to reject us,
Mhm.
we sometimes will just put our blinders on. I remember there's
Yeah.
a story about that I believe Les Brown shared, and he was talking about how when he used to work in the horse stables at the racetrack, and
Mhm.
this old gentleman had told him, "Hey, do you know what those things are on the horse's eyes?" And he told him what they were, and he was like, they're basically designed so that a horse, when it's racing, that the horse can't see to the right or the left. They're
Mhm.
just focused on what's in front of them and racing as hard as they can. And he was like, those blinders are really good for races, but they're not good for life. And
Yeah.
when we put these blinders on, whether they're in front of us, to the side of us, behind us, we put these blinders on that make the imperfections of humanity, make those imperfections invisible. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that they can't exist and that person can't still be a great person. I'm just
Mhm.
saying when we turn a blind eye to those imperfections and we don't really assess how those imperfections can impact us,
Mhm.
then we end up in these situations where we might again know the true representative or not know the true representative. But if you're not pulling in all the data to really figure out who the person is, you're going to end up on the short end of the stick, and then you're going to deal with some rejection and some what I would consider. I'm going to say, why do I always fall for this type? That typecasting mentality. Well, it's you're falling for the type because you're not willing to look at the signs that present. And it's not that there are not false positive flags. I'm not saying that there's not such thing as
Mhm.
false positive flags. My wife and I experienced some false positive flags while we were going through our relationship, our building our relationship. But at the same time, it's still like I've always had to go back to what do I know this woman's character to be?
Yep.
um, and weigh that out against the false positive flag. Like, is this false positive flag enough for me to walk away? Or is this false positive flag enough for me to analyze, assess, and then have an adult conversation about why that's a flag for me, why that wouldn't work for me long term, and how we can address it. So,
Well, also too, I mean that you have to be in a space of trusting yourself to even be able to take that route. There are a whole lot of people who don't trust their own judgment and they won't do the work that's required to get to a place where they trust their own judgment. Because here's the thing. There's not a person out there that's an adult that hasn't been in a situation where they felt taken advantage of, slighted, they haven't been lied to, all of those things. That's just when you're a person, when you're an imperfect person, you're going to deal with other imperfect people. It happens. But this is the reason why giving ourselves grace is so important, because if you've experienced whatever in a past relationship, somebody could have been able to lie to you when it come to cheating, or they could have spun a story in a certain way where you believed it only to find out later on that that wasn't the way that it was. And those things happen. But at the end of the day, we can't acquire wisdom without these types of situations. I don't care
right,
what situation any of us has encountered that's been hurtful. On the other side of it, it represented a space of growth for us. Now, some people are able to accept that growth and move forward. Other people will just look at the negative interaction and how it made them feel, any type of losses that they feel like they might have incurred. Before they know it, they'll spend 7 years on something only to forget that that's like so 7 years ago. You talking about it like it was yesterday, and somebody start talking to you that was like 7 freaking years ago. So it's up to us in those situations to take the hard knocks, choose to see the lesson in it. And people say, well, how do you see the lesson? Well, first of all, don't be a victim. If
right,
a situation happens, then I don't care whether we want to see it that way or not. You can't have a situation that's negative and you not play a role in it. Just like if it's a situation that's positive, you play a role in it. You're
Right.
involved on both sides. So,
Right.
so just choose not to be a victim. Just look at the situation as in, okay, these are all the things that did not go the way that I like. This is what the outcome was. What could I have done different? Completely and totally let the other person off the hook, because the only reason why is because if they slighted you in any kind of way, I believe in karma. That's coming back. It is.
Right.
But for your sake, what could you have done differently? And spending time in that space is how you get to a point where you can see it for what it is, take the growth from it. And then when you move into other situations, you and your wife, by the time you guys had gotten together, that work had been done. So you had enough trust in Billy and what Billy has learned to say, okay, this here I'm not cool with. This is looking this way, but from what I know of her, I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt, but we need to have a conversation, and I'm gonna give her the opportunity to explain this to me.
Right.
Let's have a conversation. You'd have to have enough trust in yourself and your spirit for discernment, your foundation for what you know of this woman. You'd have to have enough of that in you to be able to get that information from her and then take and discern and assess and find out based on what you know whether or not you should proceed. To get to that space to trust ourselves like that, we have to allow ourselves to sit on our own hot seat and don't be victims, be completely and totally accountable. And in that space is nobody but you and God. There's
Right.
no judge. That's why it's so important to not judge ourselves. But in that space, it's just you. Take what you can get and move forward, and allow these things to strengthen us so that we have the trust in ourselves to make those decisions moving forward in other situations.
Hmm. When you said take the L, I always, said I've
Man,
used that phrase a lot, like take the L. And I've taken it as take the loss, cut your losses, pack it up. But for the first time ever hearing take the L, my brain said take the lesson.
mm-hmm,
Take the lesson.
mm-hmm.
It's okay whether things work out or don't work out. Really quick, Soto says, yes, I had asked if anybody has ever been fooled by someone's representative, and he said yes, but not for a long time until I see the true colors.
Yeah.
Take the L, take the lesson.
Yep.
Take the lesson.
And guess what? I think I agree with you there. It's the L could be lessons or losses, but a loss is not a bad thing. If you think of some of the most successful people that we know, they got some stories of some huge losses that equal lessons.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have this exponential, ridiculous growth when it comes to wisdom, when it comes to your spirituality, when it comes to any of that, without feeling like you've taken some losses. The losses are how you get to the lessons. So I agree with that.
Yeah. Then the other thing that came to mind for me was Brene Brown's head, heart, gut methodology, in the sense of, when you're interacting with somebody and you think maybe this is the representative, whether things are going good or bad, doesn't matter. But if you think this is the representative, ask yourself, what does my head say about this? What does my heart say about this? And what does my gut say about this?
Yep.
And know which one you are going to prioritize based on whether it's your gut, your heart, or your head. Hey, if you want to go solely logically, when this is what has occurred in the past, this has been the outcome, I'm going to stick with that. This is something I don't want to engage in. Or if it's the heart, in limerence and in love, my heart really wants to fight for this, then you fight for that. If your gut says, ooh, something's off, or maybe this is a one-off, then go with your gut. Go with whatever is resonating with you the strongest in that moment.
Yeah.
But one of the things I would say is, regardless of what's resonating with you, make sure that it doesn't resonate so strongly because of fear, that it's not resonating with you because you're scared. Look, relationships are scary. I'm 41 years old. Relationships are scary. I'll let you know, still scary at 41. It went from like, will you play with me in elementary school, to do you want to be my girlfriend, circle one, yes or no, to will you marry me, to this shit is still scary.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're opening yourself up and putting the most vulnerable spaces of yourself in someone else's hands and trusting that they're not going to violate that. And here's the thing. I think that oftentimes we make the assumption that if someone hurts us that it's always by design, that was the intention. I make it a point to remind myself that sometimes I'm just a part of someone else's journey in their life.
mm,
I'll intersect with them at a point when they are just doing them, and I may be a casualty of their own personal war. Everything is not personal. I mean,
right,
there have been times that I have hurt people intentionally, and there have been some times that I learned unintentionally that somebody, they like I done something to them. They've been holding on to for 2 years. I wasn't even aware that this happened because I was just doing me. So
right,
a lot of the times things are so not personal. People are on their journey just like you're on yours. And so when you look at relationships in that way too, this is the reason why having a conversation when you're impacted by something is so important, because it'll feel one way, and based on those feelings you'll begin a narrative of what that must have meant and blah 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 blah. And by the time you get finished with the story, you got extra characters in there and certain stuff, this and that, and it's like a
kung
whole
fu
situation,
move,
right? You how you gonna put them to sleep and full Nelson,
right,
you got a whole situation going on, only for you to have a conversation and then be able to receive that. Oh, that's what that looked like to you. That's what. Oh, I didn't mean that. I was this or I was that, or Listen,
yeah,
for those of you who are watching, thank you so much for watching. If you want to join us live, come on up here.
bring it, Cletus,
Click
bring
it, bring it. Come on, ladies, come on.
it.
Click the link and come and join us up on stage. And you can type away, or you can just come on up here and talk and be a part of the conversation. But yeah, I think that it's not personal more times than not. It's just having the courage to have those conversations and having that trust in yourself that you can discern what's going on when you have the conversation, you know.
Right, right. Really quick, it looks like Jose Soto says, that's so true. Your gut never lies. So I'm going to assume that the answer to the question is you rely on your gut. And I put guy for some reason. I don't know, but it was gut. Oh, because Y and T are next to each other on the keyboard. That's why.
That's right.
And then also, it looks like he also says that sometimes they're only in your life for a season. And I did a whole Wednesday word on out of season people. Like, I think I said something along the lines of, expired fruit is still food. However, it's going to make you sick. It's not going to provide the nourishment that food is meant to provide for the body. At the cellular level, it's not. And so when you're dealing with these people in the representative world, it is important to be able to come to terms with once you identify that you're dealing with a representative and not the real person. It's important to come to terms with who they truly are.
Yep.
We see this in domestic violence relationships, but he loved me though. Well, people who love you don't bust your lip and crack your skull. Like that's not a representation of love, even if that's what they know to be love, because that's all they known is love. That's
Yeah.
not love. That is maybe a perverted perspective of love for them, but that's not love.
Yep.
So once you identify that representative, or you see that it's a representative that you like and it's not the person that you like,
Yeah.
be willing to have that walk away point. One of the things that my wife used to always say about me was, babe, you're a unicorn. And I'd be like, nah, not really. And she'd be like, no, you don't understand. There's not a lot of men out here who think like you, who are as committed as you, who are as driven as you, and do the things that you do in our relationship. And I started thinking about, like, is that who I am? Am I a unicorn? But it's not. To me, I'm not a unicorn. I don't think I'm anything special, but it's because of the circle of friends that I have, the males that are around me. I'm just an average male according to the group of males that I hang around. We're all like dedicated to our families, try to do the right thing, want to be compassionate, want to be driven. That's the group of men that I hang around.
Focused
So
and very intentional. Focused and very intentional.
yeah,
And see, that's the thing, because that's your, I'll say bubble, because that's your bubble. You're not aware that is a bubble. This that and that's not to say that's your bubble. Well, it's just nah, bruh. No, no. But the thing is that that's not to minimize the amount of good men that are focused and intentional, just like you, dedicated, all of that. I'm not saying that, but the thing is that you see more of the latter. And I think, to your point, some of the points that you were making, I think another thing, when you were talking about the domestic violence example, I think that, just like success, okay, success is something where I see that two different ways. There are a lot of people that subscribe to what the system tells you success is, and they spend their life trying to achieve something that maybe 1% of people do and is not obtainable in that same way for the average person. But then they don't take the time to define what success is for them, because there are a whole lot of people that you don't see flashing across your TV screen that live very comfortable lives, that have built extremely amazing legacies. They're living the dream, but because they've defined success for themselves, then they're able to create what they want in a sphere where these things are obtainable for them. Well, the same thing when it comes to relationships. A lot of times people have these idealisms of what their relationships should be like, how they would like for things to be. And because they're not defining what a successful relationship is for themselves, they have the idea, but then you're not running and going and being intentional and focused about finding the man or woman that fits into what it is that you say that you want. They spend a whole lot of time thinking about the wedding and the dress and the pictures for other people and the type
right,
of life that they want. But then you'll go get somebody who's a pop ass chicken manager, and you know what I'm saying? And y'all done spent $80,000 for a wedding or something, $100,000 for a wedding, and things don't match. And that's because there's what you imagine based on something else that you've seen, or you can actually create the reality of what success is in your life, a successful career, marriage. You can create those things for yourself. And then now
right,
you're living it. Now you when you go out and you're in the dating pool, you're intentional about the type of person you want to connect to, but also to the type of person you'd have to be to attract that person.
right. Ooh.
Look, I
Don't
got
do
to move
it.
in on the camera on that one.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I had the luxury of sitting in on a conversation one time in an office I used to work in. And I was listening to the young ladies in the office talk about how they wanted to be stay-at-home mothers. And I have a friend who was for a very long time a stay-at-home mother. And I
Been
can
there,
tell
done
you,
that.
whew, that stuff is not easy.
It is
I can
not
tell
what it
you it's
looks
not
like
easy.
from the outside, child.
Yeah.
Whew.
Only reason I want to be a stay-at-home dad is if my kids have moved out.
People think, I don't know. You could tell people who think that that's easy, they haven't done it before. They don't.
Mhm.
Listen, not only first of all, that's like a 24/7 job, because even once you got them down for bed, then you laundry and preparing for the next day and blah. It never stops. But not only that, it is freaking hard to be an adult, and the conversation that you have is toddler level all the time.
Right.
It's just no, been there, done that. I mean, I enjoyed the time that I was at home with my kids, and I wouldn't take that back because of the memories. But baby, when I could get out of that situation and get back on a job, I was like, yes.
Like,
Ooh, that is
please,
not easy. Ooh.
I will clock in any day. Really quick, Soto Jose says, I believe sometimes people build lives on the fake representative because they're so afraid of the reality or the truth. Yes, and that costs them more than what the real life would cost them if they just work to actually create the real life. Um, I,
Yeah.
I've seen people go into debt. Like I've seen well, I've seen shows, because unfortunately I don't know anybody who's done this personally, but I've seen shows where guys are willing to spend their whole paycheck when they get it on renting a luxury vehicle and buying Gucci and going out for like one night where they can get like bottle service and all that stuff just to make it seem like they have wealth. And it's like, but those actions are counterintuitive to building wealth. And so you go back to the one bedroom apartment, the studio, the no furniture in your apartment. You go back to that because you're so focused on looking like you have something that you can't do the actions, or you refuse to do the actions. I don't want to say you can't, it's choice. So you refuse to do the actions that would actually lead to the lifestyle that you want to have.
But you
At
know
some
what?
point,
That's why mentality is so huge.
yes.
Because some people do not even, they couldn't begin to know where to begin to build the type of lifestyle that would be able to support what it is that they want to do. And instead of spending the time to learn what it would take to do that, they just, but the pretending, I think, in a lot of ways, and I'm not saying that this is true for everyone. I've had so many different people that I've worked with and seen um different aspects of this and different derivatives of this and that cause this and that. It's so hard to imagine, but for some people to not even believe that you have what it takes to do something like create that type of life that you want, to feel like you're not even a resource, you're not even an option. There's nothing within you that is bankable, even moldable. It's as though they can't even be taught. But imagine feeling about yourself where you're not even an option for what it is that you want to make happen. See,
Dang.
if there's something that I want and I don't know how to get there, I would have to first believe that if I went to go find this information, that with teaching, I could apply it. With support, I could apply it. If somebody said, well, hey, I don't have what you need, but you need to go communicate with that person over there. Well, that I could communicate with them, that I could present myself in a way, even if I just have confidence and nothing else. Some people, I've had some people, different mentees that I'll deal with. I could tell that, okay, she has no clue about what she's talking about, but you know what? I love her confidence and her passion. I'm in. Let's get it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes people are not even looking for you to have all of the, you're coming to them because you need help. And people who want to help, they like the fact that you have the confidence to even come. Imagine if you don't even have the confidence to do that. There are some people that are living in that. And then you wonder why. You say, well, that's counterintuitive to building wealth. And they could just, no, what if they just can't? I remember when I was always just naturally a good student. I was one of those type of people who didn't have to study and I was going to get B's. And if I did study, then it was going to be A's. School always came easy for me. So I
Right.
thought that everybody could just get A's. Yeah, all you got to do is just, no, I had to get into to college and into grad school to just realize that, silly, that was just something that was doable for you like that. My brother could study as hard as, and he wasn't going to get no more than a C. I used to do his homework for him. He had the tutoring and all of that. He was just not someone who was astute like that. He just wasn't. And so his best was a C, which to my parents was like an A because he did his best. But
Right.
even still coming up, I didn't get for a long time that wasn't something that somebody can do. There are some people out there that even with the information, because they don't believe enough in their capability, they can't do it. So that's what makes them say, well, I know I'm never going to have that the way they do, but shoot, I'm going to get as much of it as I can. As I said, I'm going to go spend my whole entire check to rent a car. I'm going to buy some shoes and paint the bottoms red. Since I
Right.
really, when I first saw that online, I said,
Is that a thing for real?
you think I'm playing with you, Billy? There are people out there
Oh
using
my
red
gosh.
paint and painting the bottom of shoes.
Oh, okay. Hey. Wow. Hey,
When I
even
first,
Jose is
Jose was
like,
like, Jose, yes, honey, Google it.
I want to be like, stop the show. Stop the show.
Had him on top of the washer. I was just like, are you kidding me? You got red paint on your washer and all of that. And yeah, it was bad. I've seen some of that on, I forgot where I was that I saw that. But yes, that is the thing. But yeah,
Mm,
there are some
I
people out there who just they can't. The mentality is that they cannot, and because they're not a resource and an option for themselves, yet they still want it, then they'll go about doing it that way, you know.
right.
So
It's
it's
almost like it's like
deep.
a criminal who decides, I want the fast money. I want the money, but I want it fast. So I'm gonna do all this brain work to do the criminal activity versus all the brain work to do the legit activity to where nobody can take away the things that the money acquires
It's
for me.
work either way.
Yeah.
Either way requires work, you know. But that's the thing for those people who some people just like the route of the thrill of criminality. There's some people like that, but there's some people that just don't feel like, even though they can do the work and they're geniuses on this side, they just don't
Mhm.
feel like they could do it the other way. Actually, I have a couple family members like that. They're pretty good at what they do.
I think we all have a couple of family members like
I'm like,
that.
you did what? Boy, you could just come up with your own cybersecurity company. I mean, what the freaking heck? Dude,
Yeah,
train people for the FBI. I don't know.
plenty of opportunities out there.
Listen,
So we're about 10 minutes out before the end of the show. I want to try something different tonight on the fly, and we'll see how it goes. That's what I
you
love about
clearly
live.
didn't see my face.
Uh, but I want to see, though we've talked a lot about the representative and how it comes across and different things. What would be, as a coach, what would be one of the tools that you would give to the people watching live or watching via the replay on for themselves, not necessarily identifying the representative. I believe wholeheartedly, once you work on yourself, there's not a whole lot that's going to get past you. But for themselves, how they could work on that. For instance, Jose saying that it's two different people, how they can work to merge that identity into one identity and really show up as their authentic selves.
Well, I think couple. Well, first thing I would say is for some people where that's an issue, do you really know what your authentic self is? I think that's the journey, because if you've been in a space of pretending for so long, some people have no clue of who they are authentically. They've never tried those slacks on. So
Mm,
I would say that work behind closed doors would be to, well, really sit down and assess who you are authentically. How would you do that? Well, what are just some things about you that you like, but that you're uncomfortable showing to other people? It's where you feel most comfortable. It's where you don't have to think about it. It's what are those things that just feel natural to you, but maybe make you a little uncomfortable? What feels natural is who you are authentically. Now, if that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's a part of the work. Why are you uncomfortable with that? There's a root for that. There's a root for everything. So exploring why this thing feels uncomfortable for you, and then what are you giving up by hiding that thing that feels so natural to you? When you pretend to be the other person, what are some things you don't like about it?
mm,
Because nothing comes for free. If you're putting
right.
this mask on, what does it cost you to keep up the costume? A lot of the times we don't take the time to assess what the loss is. Kind of like the person who goes to the boat and they'll tell you about the times that they win. I won $75,000, but it took you 1.5 million to get that.
Right.
Are you assessing the loss, or are you just looking at what you feel like the gain is? You know, and so I think that the starting point of what feels natural, do you know what that is? Sit in that and be honest with yourself about what that is. What's the cost when you put the mask on? And then finally, if I had to just give three things off the top of my head, what would be the gain for you? We know you would feel uncomfortable being authentically who you are, but what would be the gain in just giving yourself permission to just be who you are? If you ever sit through that, then maybe just receiving people, receiving you as who you are, instead of what you imagine that might be like, actually sit in it and live and see what it would be like.
Mm.
You know, just try it on and just be there in it. So I think that those would be the top three things to come to mind. And then also too, I think that one of the things that I've been able to support a lot of clients in going through this is we make mountains out of molehills. I know a lot of people have heard that saying before. Sometimes we build things up to be so super huge based on fear, and then once we actually sit in them, we find out that number one, it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. Number two, any perception that someone has of you or narrative that they create about who you are, well, you're there in the flesh. You get to tell people and show people who you actually are, and then being okay with someone not being cool with it and you choosing to maybe that's not the person that you want to be around because their energy is not a match for you. We got to be okay with letting people go. We do.
All day, every day.
Because when
All
you
day,
decide
every
to
day.
be if you've been living as a representative for a long time around people, and then you decide to one day show up as who you are, and spoiler alert, people know when you faking. They
Mm-hmm.
know. You're not hiding it. So when you show up as who you authentically are, there are going to be some people who are comfortable with you pretending. They're not going to want to accept you as who you really are. Well, are you okay with deciding what's right for you instead of allowing other people to decide who you should be to make them feel comfortable?
A lot of people, unfortunately, the answer is no.
I know. But
That
that's
that's
why sitting in the discomfort, they would say no if they haven't sat in it yet.
right.
The freedom outweighs the discomfort, and you get so used to the taste of freedom. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
remember to do this that I remember to do with the costume, and I don't have to do that. I could just be. I don't have to worry about how I put my legs because my skirt is real short. I ain't got to do that because I got on a long skirt tonight. I can just sit how I want. But yeah,
Right.
it's one of those types of things. Now you come on, coach.
Mm.
What would you?
You know I'm reckless.
I know you reckless because you uncouth. That's one of your most endearing qualities. I love it. I can count on you to just I'll be like, he said that. He's okay, that's what he said. Okay.
Look, I tell you all the time, it don't matter whether it's my hairline, my body type, or whatever. You go get what I give you. That is what it is always gonna come down to.
I'd be like this.
Hey, just is what it is.
Right.
But I think for me, everything that you said, 100%, absolutely. But what I've also learned is that we have to make getting into a fraudulent position so uncomfortable that we're unwilling to do it at all costs.
Come on. Yeah.
At all costs.
Yeah.
I am never going to put myself in a position where I have to be fake because it is so uncomfortable for me.
Yep.
I'd rather be fired because I was who I am. I'd rather be chastised because of who I am. I'd rather be broken up with because of who I am. I'd rather somebody not be my friend no more because of who I am. Because at the end of the day, at least they are rejecting who I am, not the idea or the concept of who I thought they wanted me to be.
Yeah.
This is my response. Soto Jose says, how about when it makes you feel like the other person will feel uncomfortable? The representative or the avoidance of having a representative in your true identity has nothing to do with other people.
Yep.
Once you can accept who you are,
Yep.
flaws and all, once you accept who you are, like I know I have a temper. I don't question it. I don't want to seem like I have a temper. No, I have a temper. And in the right trigger situations, that temper can flare up.
Sure.
Now I'm conscious of it because I don't want to be a person who's easily influenced by negative situations that make my temper flare up or that I choose to allow my temper to flare up. But I'm still conscious that that is who I am.
Yeah.
So if there's something that I'm doing that makes a person feel uncomfortable, it's not my responsibility to tell them to come and talk to me about what I'm doing that's making them feel uncomfortable. That's not my responsibility.
Right.
That's their responsibility.
Their baggage.
My responsibility is to be true to myself. Yep. Now, if they do bring it to my attention, hey, I don't like when you do this. I'll give you a really good example. my wife, while we were dating, we sometimes get in arguments. And when we get into an argument, sometimes I'm like, hey, look, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. Like, because to me, it's just matter of fact. It's a factual statement.
Shots fired.
Right. But for her, what I found was for her, she was like, that makes me feel like you're not going to fight for us if stuff goes bad or during bad times. And it wasn't that I wasn't willing to fight for us, but I'd never want somebody to feel like they're in a hostage situation in our relationship. Like, hey, bring us some pizzas because we're going to be here for a minute. I don't want people to feel like that. So for me, what I had to do was hear what was being said to me, the feedback that I'm getting, and say, well, what am I really saying? I'm really saying is, I want you to be here because I want you to be here. Mm-hmm. I want you to be here because I want you to want to be here. Right. That's what I'm really saying. But I'm just trying to shortcut the process. Hey, you don't have to be here if you don't want to be.
Listen. I would talk to you. Some stuff you say, I'd be like, yo, wrong answer. Wrong answer. No, Billy, don't.
Look, I know it's bad because sometimes my friends will be like, bro, you didn't say that, did you? Yeah, no, that's what I said. I said what I said because that's what I meant. But that is that aspect of, if the other person feels uncomfortable, we take on things that are not our responsibility to resolve. Yeah. How uncomfortable somebody is not my responsibility to resolve if I am truly being who I am. Yeah. That's their responsibility to speak up and open up a dialogue so that we can resolve it. But it's not for me to resolve tiptoeing through every situation because I want people to feel comfortable. Yeah. And then there's another thing he said here. He says, my true representative sometimes makes other people feel uncomfortable. Again, a them thing, not a you thing. Because if you're comfortable, then that's you. Why put yourself in chaos, at war with yourself? That was a Nipsey Hussle video I seen earlier this week. I'd rather be at war with the world and at peace with myself than at peace with the world and at war with myself. I don't care how comfortable you are or not. There's times where I'm in business meetings and people don't like what I have to say. Oh, well, that's a you thing. We can either talk about it right now or offline or however you want to talk about it. But I'm going to come with what I believe is what I want to say. And if you don't like what I've said, then I'm sorry for you.
And I have to say, when it comes to authenticity, it's not your job to go through your life making other people feel comfortable. When you are your authentic self, then what happens is people who are not meant to be members of your tribe fall off. And that's exactly what you want. Mm-hmm. The goal is not to hold on to everybody around you. The goal is to show up authentically who you are, who you were created to be, with your gifts, with your reasoning, your talents, everything that you have, and be connected to like-minded people so you all can challenge each other to grow. That's right. What this is. And then because you guys are on the same wavelength, they can support you being the best version of who you are, and you can support them in the circle to just keep kind of like what we got going on in our circle. That's right. The point. But if you're running around watering down who you are to please a bunch of people who are not even meant to be in your circle, their season has been passed. I got a poem that I wrote where I talked about creating my own seasons for relationships. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We do a whole lot of that. And then we wonder why a kicker gets the prick, like my grandmother used to say. And then we wonder why we're so miserable with different things. A lot of the misery that we deal with in our lives is by our own choosing. And it's because we don't have the courage to just live as who God created us to be and let people make the choices to whether or not that's for them. They have a right to not feel you. But for everyone that doesn't feel me, it's a whole lot of them that's fans.
Right.
I'm not living for people who don't feel me. I don't do what I do working for people who feel. I don't do these videos for people who don't feel me. This stuff is for whoever this may resonate with. And the other people, quite frankly, don't matter.
Right. I say niche. It's niche. Yeah. It's you just responded to what Jessica said. She said, when I stopped letting people hurt me, I lost family. But you said something very powerful to that, is that you gained family. It may not be the blood
biologically, right? It doesn't matter.
But you gained because you set up who you are. You set up boundaries because who you are sets the stage for what you accept. It sets the boundaries for what's allowed in. So once you set
Absolutely.
who you are and that boundary is set, now the people who ain't with it don't want to be on that side of the fence with you. And that's fine. You
Yep.
can live on that outside of the fence and do whatever the hell you want to do. But when it comes to coming in my fence, into my property, onto my excuse me, or trespassing onto my property, yeah, no, that's not how this works. And
Yep.
there will be times where you'll lose family. There will be times where you'll lose friends. But again, that's the seasonality of it. That
Yep.
is, those people were there maybe through your childhood. They were fun to play with on the slip and slide. They was fun to run, play tag with at the park. But
Yeah.
now you're in a different stage in life.
Yeah.
And those people being gone, we're not going to add any substantial value in their current state. They may cycle back around and come back and be better people for you. But they weren't going to add in the current time when you lost them. They weren't going to add substantial value to who you were either are or striving to be.
That's such an amazing point when you talked about cycling back around, because I'm gonna tell you this, and I know we got to go, but I got to say this. One of the things, right? Because you see, what one of the things that I've learned so far, to cycling back around, is some relationships with people don't work out because we are all going through an ongoing evolutionary process of emotional and spiritual growth. Okay, our emotional intelligence is always being challenged, and we have to shape shift with that. Spiritually, we're constantly trying to connect to that which is greater within us. So everybody around you is going through this. When I allowed myself to 100% own all of the greatness that is Taralyn, and then invest in that, refine that, to hone that, to sit in that, to spend time alone with that. There were a whole lot of people who fell off because that's the season that they were in, and the season that I was in, it wasn't connected. But I'm noticing now that I'm owning me, and I'm doing all of this growing, and all of these different, I'm allowing these different things to happen and manifesting things just like I was doing my thing. Some people have fallen off or doing their thing, and then they come back around, and it's a completely and totally different energy and dynamic. Why did I share that? Because sometimes what'll keep people stuck is the fear of people that they love so much, and those memories and all of these different things that they had, and they automatically make the assumption that not now is for eternity. And that's not always the way that
Mm.
life works. Not now is not now. Sometimes it can be for a while, sometimes it can be for eternity. But what you have to know is that we were all put here with a specific work to do. We have a specific thing within us that is valuable, and your allegiance is to that. Your
Right.
allegiance is to showing up as who you are, and for letting that light shine on somebody, thus so that it could change. It will change. There are people's lives who you're going to change just by showing up 100% being you. And you won't know until they come and say, you know what? I saw you that day and such, and I was going through a hard time, and you just changed my life. And it could be you going to a party, sitting down, telling a stupid story with a couple drinks, but you don't know that when you told that story, it was something about you and the story that changed that person, that made them look at things differently, that made them look at their life differently. How are you going to have these experiences that we were all created to have if you
Right.
won't have the courage to sit in who you are and learn about yourself, cultivate yourself, grow? It's going to be jacked up when you first start because it's new. But the
Right.
more you work you, the people that you see and admire and follow and listen to, where you see these gifts and things within them, boo boo, just because you have something innate, that refinement process took some time. They had to sit in that. They had to find out what aspects of them worked and which ones didn't. They had to have the courage to put themselves out there and possibly be judged and ridiculed because people are not feeling who they are or where they're coming from or what it is that they're sharing. But them being their authentic self was more important. That journey and figuring out what that is, getting to a space where I know why I was created, and I love me, and I love that I'm
Mhm.
dope at this, and I love that people receive the fact that I'm dope with this, and I can even deal with the people that are not feeling my dopeness. My dopeness ain't for them. But to even get to a space where you can have that type of feeling about yourself and your creation, I challenge anybody who's struggling with that to just step up and sit in it and be prepared to be amazed at how amazing you are, and how many people are really going to be more drawn to that than are not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I guess we'll close with the live chat. Patsy Diane Smith says, in the last year, I lost friends who I realized the hard way didn't add value to who I am and working on to be.
Come
She
on
says
now.
it's crazy how you do much better without them because it's almost like they held you back from being you.
Yep.
Yeah, they
I love
they
that.
they act as an anchor to, especially when you're trying to grow. You
Yeah.
can't try to grow but leave your foot where you were standing as you try to grow. You
Right.
can't like, okay, well, I'm gonna stretch this foot out as far as I can, but leave this one foot in place. You can't do that. You have to, and there's not a lot of things that I say you have to do. You have to be willing to pick up both feet.
There you
You have
go.
to be willing to travel, just like basketball. If you pick up both feet, you travel. You got to be willing to pick up both feet and travel. So
Right.
I love that addition to the conversation. I'm gonna let that be the end for me. I have nothing else to add. Taralyn, is there anything you want to add in closing?
No, the only thing I'm thinking about is man, if you guys want some more Billy Rowe, ooh, Wednesday word is tomorrow. Uh-uh. Um, say
There
word.
it is.
Wednesday word. Listen, you get you some of Billy every Tuesday and every Wednesday with that Wednesday word, that mental workout. Yeah, my schedule's open. I'm gonna be on there for that. But also beyond the Wednesday word, y'all, you gotta go to firstrow.com. You gotta check out Fire Your Job, Hire Your Passion. Listen, me and Billy go way back, but if you know anything about me, if his book was booty, I'd say it, but it ain't.
Thank you.
But it ain't. So y'all, national bestseller, first one out the gate. Gotta check it out. Me, hey, I got episodes that go live every Friday on my podcast, The Grind Define. Hey, tagline: always define your grind and never let the grind define you. Check me out every Friday at thegrinddefine.com. Also, the Grind Define YouTube channel. You can check that out as well. And of course, you can get at me, taralynmichelle.com, if you want to know more about me as a coach, ghostwriting, lots of cool things going on there. I'm going to be at Podfest in May in Orlando, Florida. You can find out more about that at taralynmichelle.com. Did I catch everything, Billy? Let me tell y'all something. Billy's surgical because I'm the old wayward child who he trying to get together with stuff. We come in here laughing every day because he like, Taralyn, really? I had just told you 2 hours ago what the freaking
No,
heck is going.
I try. The only other thing, Taralyn, is next week's Taralyn, Michelle, and Billy Rowe live.
That
That's what we're
part.
on right now.
Right. Because we like
We
doing it
do have,
now.
yeah, we do have one of those coming up next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If
Every
you're in between those
Tuesday.
time zones, figure it out.
Okay, so see,
Um,
had one amiss. I'm getting better.
that's all right. You're getting better. One is better than zero where you started. So we're good with that.
You gotta bring up old stuff. Why you gotta bring up old stuff? Petty.
I'm just saying,
Petty
I
Paul.
remember.
I mean, Billy's just like, okay, we just out. He's like, you didn't say nothing. I'm like, I said a lot. Not no. I was like, oh dang, okay, my bad.
She tried. So
I do.
that's what we got.
That's it. Well,
That's
hey,
everything.
thank you guys for tuning in. Hey, if you haven't shown some love and subscribe to our YouTube channels, you should. You got to go over to First Row on YouTube and The Grind Define on YouTube. Please subscribe. Please share. Yeah, we want to stay connected to you guys. And always remember, every week, just like you tuned in to watch, join us live on stage one time. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's going to be
We ain't
good.
gonna
But
bite.
no, we're not going to bite. But until next week, Taralyn Michelle, my boo Billy, we out. See you next time. Peace.
Peace.